Yeah, because it didn't have a countdown. It sort of started unexpectedly.
This one will do the same as well. Why does it say game starting at 120, but every player's green?
Looks like they're all in. There we go.
Oh, here we go. All right.
Battle started.
Hello and welcome to an All Reason No Logic FFA, where you're joining myself and Twig on this exciting gamecast where one of our players, Tank Tom, is facing off against 4 other community players. Jumping down on the start, Tank Tom in the green trunks is playing as Cortex. He is OS 17 against the yellow player, also OS 17, and playing Cortex. Oh, sorry, playing Armada. Blue player MR 16 and OS 16 and playing Armada as well. Pigs, you've probably seen him on the channel before in the red trunks, OS 17 and playing Cortex. Finally, the pink commander Winera, OS 17 as well, playing Armada. So we just have the one Cortex for this one. Jumping into
We're
this,
playing on Pentos, by the way, everyone. Those who haven't played this map, that's the name.
lots of metal around the map, a large central area to fight over with a lot of mexes, and huge amounts of eco in the base. There are 7 mexes, each worth 2 metal in the base and a geo behind, so hopefully this will turn into a bit of a late game push with all of the resources available to go to T2, but we've seen from the past early action in these games from pawns, ticks, and grunts tends to do a lot of damage, though I don't believe that ticks can run through this water. They tend to be pretty land-based. Having a quick look down at Tank Tom, he is jumping in with a Grave Robber, trying to get that early energy lead. One of the best ways to keep up your energy on a map with trees is getting a Grave Robber out. With that 200 build power, they really do bring in a lot of energy at once. A rover coming across the map, going to scout on Tank Tom, but there is an LLT which will scare it off, doesn't destroy it, so he is free to head on to the next base. And Blue sending out a couple of units to the different spots, trying to cover his entrances, get some early warning. Would like to see some radars on the high cliffs. They should make for great early visibility. Pigs going for air, which is quite a different play from him. We've seen bots from him out of just about every other game. But this one should let him get a lot of these ocean mechs, so this should potentially give him a metal advantage. It brings the start up from 7 mexes per island to 9 mexes per island, and that's actually a pretty big change as long as he can hold the front. Radar up the front, great idea, gives him early warning if anyone is coming his way. We'll see if the back doors for these maps account to anything. Rover sneaking on through, manages to dodge all of Blue's pawns. What a great little move. Is going to manage to hopefully get some scouting information on Pigs, but will likely fall to those LLTs. Big LLT play coming out of Pigs. He's planning to just defend his area, and that is it. Winera going for a heavy eco play and is getting a large wind field here, potentially susceptible to an air attack because of the close proximity, but they shouldn't chain react with that spacing. All players playing moderately defensively, acknowledging the huge amount of eco. Tank Tom looking at the middle and seeing nobody else around, trying to get a scout off on the top side. little bit of combat coming down the front from at Rhaenyra's base. Manages to push that pawn off. The no LLTs for him, but good solid defense with blitzers. As we get players finally moving out of their base, the blue player has claimed the additional mexes. And we've got an underwater amphibious construction vehicle going around and taking those mexes. So some of these players getting right on out there, pigs. Getting right on out there and getting...
Sorry, Prey, I'm back. I had a disconnection issue.
No worries. Jumping into the middle of the map, we've got our first major engagement between the blue player and the green player. Pawns and grunts trying to take control of this middle ground. I was just saying before that the lower side of the map seems to be going heavily into eco, with pigs jumping into air and Rhaenyra using an underwater constructor. Seems like that play is going to give them a big advantage as the game goes along.
Looks like most of the aggression has been out of Ollie and Tom, the green and blue players, but we do have some tanks rolling around the back. With that sand strip around the edge of the map, I'm not sure if all players know that the units can run around the back like amphibious would usually need to.
I know I definitely didn't.
I've somehow I have not played this map before. I'm curious how long it's been around for.
All of Tank Tom's conversion being taken out, as well as his rear mexes, and because of those slow thugs, these units might be able to swing on through and get more damage, but they plow into the army and don't manage to get more eco. But that is Tank Tom taking a big setback. Thankfully, he does have that geo up, which means that the energy recovery will hopefully be not too far in coming.
Pigs with the air choice looks like it might have slowly paid itself off with all the mexes he's been able to get underwater.
Yeah.
Those vehicles not able to build those mexes unless you get something like the Muskrat or the Armada equivalent for the underwater vehicle. What's that one called? I can't remember. The Beaver.
No, getting that extra... He hasn't actually gone for his own geo, but is getting the island in between himself and the pink player's geo. That should be a big boon, though. I'm not sure what happened to the... Rhaenyra has built a Nestle out in the ocean and managed to shoot down the builder, so that is not going to be a completed geothermal. So that is a lot of resources down for nothing, which is unfortunate.
Does the decay in this instance go back to pigs?
I don't believe it does. I'm pretty sure it's just lost metal.
Yeah, interesting, because I've heard debates about that. If anyone knows the fact of it, feel free to leave a comment down below.
We might need to make a video on that.
Not a bad idea, but then we got to figure it out.
A little bit of science is easy enough to do. Pigs
without that geo up, those LLTs, those 13 LLTs that pigs have, has 1,105 metal that could have probably gone into something else. I mean, he is playing very defensively.
And he's now out in the middle with those banshees. So the defensive play may actually be working out for him, because he's got that air dominance now, and the other players have to react.
You think maybe it was a little bit too early to show your cards?
Oh, definitely. It was definitely too early to show that. 4 banshees.
Yellow would know for sure that he's got air up.
Those 4 banshees, all they managed to do was take a couple of units in the center of the map. Those definitely should have been used for eco damage, not taking a couple of thugs. But a T2 transition coming out of Pigs, this is not the worst, not actually that bad of a choice because he's full on metal at the moment. And if he consumes the aircraft lab, he should actually have essentially enough to do the entire thing at once, but he does not have the energy because he was unable to get his geothermal down. He is massively energy stalled and having to invest in advanced solars, very little wind, and he could actually be eating these trees if he wanted them. Sending those banshees out to the blue player who should have heard the air alert, but has not reacted, so Pigs should be able to get some decent damage in. Unfortunately, targeting an LLT is not going to be the damage he wants. The one thistle in the background going to be enough to deflect this and get a second one up, so not much damage done with the air over there. Having a quick look at the yellow player, that is a T2 lab that has just been completed, which means that we're going to start seeing some T2 on the front line. Blue with T2 and Tank Tom in green getting his as well. Winera already in pink already getting theirs too. So this has turned into quite a light play for the start of the game, by getting quite a lot heavier with this T2 rolling around. We'll hopefully see a big conflict for that middle of the map.
As soon as you get the free-for-alls of more than 3 or 4 players, it does kind of get to that phase. Like, you could go heavy into T1 and have like a nice strong assault, but the player that doesn't get attacked by that T1 assault has got that extra time to get T2, and they're probably going to be the person that ends up getting the win. Like in this case, when you're not putting any units apart from the ones that went into Tom's base, only 5 blitz, or whatever it was, and the rest of the medals just all gone to getting him to T2 before anyone else.
And looking at Tom's base, that's put him on such the defensive. He's got most of his thugs in the back, 2 LLTs, a jellyfish, same on the other side, so he's really turtling up inside that. That being said, he also controls the middle of the map, so the most defensive and offensive player all in one.
Does he have an army anywhere? He's got a few thugs.
Got a few thugs. That's
15 of them.
About it. But yes, very defensive, and the good thing and the bad thing about maps of this size and maps of this eco, they do allow for those T2 games, but they also tend to not be as hectic in the starting few minutes.
How do you think this one's going to end?
I think that we're going to end up seeing a big push into Pigs, whether he's ready for it or not, because as the air player, he's a reasonably large global threat. But he also doesn't have much in the way of defenses. And then once the air threat is gone, it's going to turn into a bit of a free-for-all for the middle, and whoever manages to control the middle and destroy a player on either side of them and gain their eco is going to be in a very dominant position for the rest of the game. And with that T2 up, it allows for huge eco booms when you're getting when you do end up taking the additional metal out of it. Winera in the pink with all of that additional metal is actually getting a C lab, so if we see a epoch out of him, that would be a very, very nice way to tank all of these bases. Going around the outside will be devastating for all players.
I wouldn't even mind just seeing an AA ship with a radar ship and the missile ship. The missile ship can just go around to each base, and I think it would be able to reach just about all of the mexes apart from maybe the front 2, and certainly all of the geos.
Definitely, and I think taking out the geos is going to be a big part of this game, because a lot of the players are relying on the geos more than any sort of normal energy generation, so it's not so spaced out, and you know exactly where they're going to be because they're the same in every base location. So if Winera can use these ships to get around and take out a couple of the geos, he'll be in a power dominant position, and in a metal heavy map, the power is going to be quite important. Looking down at Pigs, he's getting his T2 mexes up, and it looks like he's gone for
the energy. I think he's just got over the 600 mark until he got those few advanced solars up. He was only floating around the 400 mark, which is a bit low to go T2. You really want to get above 600.
Crazy thing is,
even higher.
he has 2 air builders, and he had his comm not doing a lot because he was energy starved. He could have been using those to build the geo that's right in the back of his base. Speaking of the back of his base, there is a series of blue pawns that are right there. It looks like they're going to try and go for the non-existent Geo. So that's that'll be a surprise for the blue player, seeing no Geo and running straight into the comm, unfortunately. Good D-gun takes 2 of them out, and the gunships will clean up the rest with the loss of only a single mech, so not much damage done. A small little medal donation for Pigs.
I'm wondering who's going to make the first move here. Maybe Tom. Just as I say that, a bunch of fiends going across to our yellow player.
And those fiends really ought to be able to punch straight through this. There's 3 LLTs and a handful of pawns, so if he's quick enough off the mark, Tom might be the player that seizes a second base right out of the gate. And if he does, that should be a lot of eco and a lot of scaling that can happen very quickly. Zooming on down to this, he's coming. The yellow player should be well aware of this because the radar, no units currently being built, just a Citadel anti-nuke system. A Pulsar is coming up, but unfortunately it is being constructed just out of range of those construction turrets, so it's not going to come up in time. But Tank Tom bypassing the yellow player and trying to get damage in on the blue should be a reasonably...
He's going for that area dominance and just taking out all the extended metal points in the middle.
There's a lot of metal in the middle. There's 2 on 4 of the islands and 1 on the other 4 islands. That's
and a snipe by Pigs. I did not see that coming.
Did not see that coming at all. What a good little use of the gunships. And that's the blue player down and an area for Pigs to expand in. So I guess our call on the airplay turning out to be the one that be taken out first was definitely wrong. So great play out of Pigs.
And with that explosion and all those towers going down, all the fiends going down afterwards to those to those aircraft.
So Tom, unfortunately, unable to get the damage done. He's sitting some Sheldons in, but with no vision. They're about to be in range of a Pulsar.
Yeah, the yellow player
and
just getting that up in time, just as the
just as they move the 1 foot needed to deal with it. But with so much there to heal it, it is not going to go down anytime soon. And with that up, that effectively closes off a large chunk of the map.
Surprised to see no players going over to that vacant island that's presented itself with that comm going down.
Pigs with the air constructor really could get on in there. But Tank Tom sending the res bots in. The question is he going to eat it or is he going to run away? He looks like he's going for the area consume command, which could lead him into the LLT fields, but it looks like he's going to get the comm. So nice bit of reclaim there for Tank Tom. Pigs having a lot of trouble spending his metal. Not enough build power. Only 3 build turrets.
I do think the res in the instance of comm of free-for-all gameplay is maybe the better option at this stage of the game. You're at the stage where comm's not going to be needed so much for build power, but it's there for that safety. If you do lose a comm from, say, a gunship snipe like we just saw, having a backup there is a nice little comm in the bank.
Tank Tom trying to sneak some fiends into Pigs' base. Couple of those LLTs managing to take one of them down, but that is it. And there are there's actually no defenses for Pigs. He's about to get a gunship up, but in the time it takes him to get a gunship, he's going to lose some of that build power, lose some of those mechs. Oh, the gunships are up, they just weren't in the base. But that is actually a decent amount of damage that Tank Tom's put on down. One of the build turrets, one of the T2 mexes, and several of the T1 solars. So
one thing you can do there with your fiends as they're about to die is hit Control D. I think it's a 1 or 2 second delay, and the explosion from those does a lot of damage.
Tank Tom now under threat from Pigs' air. He does have some anti-air, but against T2 you really need to get some of those flaks in, some of those T2 anti-airs. One Sam is not going to be enough, and if you look at his armies, he's only got a single Manticore in there, and considering just how much air has been seen so far, 1 Manticore is not going to be enough. Trying to engage Winera, but those bulls are very tanky, and with Mauser backup, he doesn't have the huge advantage that you normally see out of a Sheldon ball. though it is getting considerable
Rhaenyra
damage on them.
is going for that flagship, but at the same time going for an air T2 transition
Well, he's also
whilst getting
behind.
T1
He's
air
also behind Tank
up.
Tom's base.
Yes. What I'm pointing out is probably stalling a little bit much on metal here and going for a fusion as well, I might add. Even though he does have a lot of metal, I think the gunships are probably the biggest threat, so I'd be focusing on getting a few more of those fighters out. I think he's only got just the one.
The ships going around behind Tank Tom's base, managing to destroy the defenses, but not overly doing a lot of damage. They're having trouble with the vision on the hill, but Tank Tom also having trouble hitting them until now. Those Sheldon's taking a lot of damage, but also dishing a decent amount of damage if he can get the radar ship, if he can get the cloaking ship. Should be a decent amount of damage, but that's going to be the Geo going down from those
We have
battleships.
missed something big, Praetus.
What's that?
Looking in Yellow's base, we have a nuclear missile launcher built and 25% charged. And the only anti-nuke on the field was the ship, which has just sunk to the bottom of the ocean.
We will see which player he chooses to target that with. That very much so could be game-ending damage for one of these players.
It is a Armada nuke, which does charge slightly faster, but it doesn't do as much damage. So I don't think a com would die with a single direct hit from a nuke. It'll be very close though.
One of the things that the yellow player really needs is more energy. Building advanced converters, but with no energy to convert, that is just adding to the problem. They're not actually consuming energy, but building them is consuming energy. And a lot of the energy is going into the APHIS, but with the wind ticking back up, there is enough energy to build that APHIS and build the missile in the Armageddon again. Small air attack coming out of Pigs onto Tank Tom. Couple of thistles poking away at the gunships, but gunships very, very healthy against thistles. So Tank Tom now on the defensive.
Got the nuclear missile ticking down. I'm getting excited.
Everybody does love a nuke, but me personally, I'm excited for the epoch that's about to come off the line. Looks like it'll be ready in about a minute. So long as Rhaenyra isn't the one targeted. Oh, and a nuclear bomber. Rhaenyra really is going into everything this game. And he's getting an anti-nuke, though it definitely won't be up in time. Because this nuke is ready to fire. The question is, will it be fired? I've got my fingers crossed.
I wonder if the yellow player is waiting so that he can put two out at once. He needs to get going though. We do have a little bit of a lag out of Tom at the moment, unfortunately.
It is unfortunate. Tank Tom usually has good internet, but occasionally he gets these big lag spikes. They usually last over the course of the night that they're on, and there's not a lot we can do about them. Hitting an when you're getting an air screen up, try and help defend against those gunships. I like air as a defense against gunships. It's one of the best ways of dealing with them beyond flak. But we have the flagship out, and it is heading over to Pigs. Question is, and nope, we do not have that nuke firing yet. So we will see whether or not that flagship and a T3 flagships do trigger a T3 warning, don't they?
No.
They flicker. Okay. Well, that still should be a pretty big shock for Pigs.
And you get a flagship detected warning,
that's the one. Yep. And with those 3 flagships, that should be enough to shoot down a lot of the air. So we will see how that one goes, but not attacking yet, waiting till he has the Haven and the Bermuda now heading on over to Pigs' base. We will see how that one goes, and getting... we actually also have him taking the underwater... We also have Rhaenyra taking the underwater mexes behind Tank Tom's base. So good little bit of bonus eco for him. Second nuke about to be ready. We will see whether that triggers him to go. Tank Tom getting mexes up in the middle. I would actually like to see these be advanced exploiters compared to advanced metal extractors, because those would be well and truly capable of shooting down the Pigs' air harass. Second nuke.
Tank Tom has timed out of this, just worth noting, so it's now a 3-player game.
It is unfortunate, especially considering that he had all of the mechs across the map, so he really did have a decent income. Pity that someone can't jump on in and take control, though if they were a spectator they would already know. A connection attempt from Tank Tom. He might be trying to get back into the game if he's still alive. Still no nukes coming out of that nuclear launcher, so... But we do have the engagement of the Flax against Pigs's air fleet. They're running into more flak on the high ground though, so I don't think Pigs is going to be able to get anything done with those gunships. And the Epoch is heading on in, destroys the Geo, and now everyone is going to be in range. Still nothing coming out of the nuke launcher, so no damage coming on there. But with Winera getting an anti-nuke up, that is... He actually has the anti-nuke up, so that is Winera safe from anti-nuke. So the nukes
have his second up as well, so even if he fires 2 in a row, unfortunately, Yellow's going to Yellow's not going to get through.
Not going to be enough, and nuclear bombers coming down on Pigs as well. That is quite
Takes 3 nuke bomber hits to take out a commander as well. So all he needs to do, sorry, 2. Just 2.
And it looks like that is Pigs down from those nuclear bombers. Unfortunately, Pigs was unable to use the air to his advantage and take this one with him.
Launcher is away.
There we go, nuke coming on up, and it looks like it's heading to Tank Tom, which is unfortunate because he is unable to defend himself, and that's going to land right in the middle of his everything. Isn't Tank Tom eliminated, but it is Tank Tom close enough to eliminated. It is now turned into a 1v1 between Hyken and Winera. So we'll see how that one goes.
The nuke has been pointed towards Winera's base, but we do know that that is going to fail. If he did launch that straight away, there would have been a chance.
But anti-nuke anti-nuke isn't popping open yet. Where is the second nuke going? Second nuke is heading over to Pigs' base.
It was on Winera's base, but that is what happens when you're not very aware. When a commander goes down, zoom out, check where it's going down, and you can pretty much guess which base has fallen.
And there is a third nuke available.
The color of the commander does shine through its chest once it goes down as well.
When you're coming around behind with his Epoch, there is not a lot of defenses at the back of the map, just a single pulsar and a couple of LLTs, so this could be a very, very devastating attack from Winera. And similarly, there is not much in the way of anti-air in the yellow base, just a chainsaw and a Mercury, or 2 chainsaws, 2 Mercuries, so the nuclear bombers theoretically can still get their payloads out if he has enough of them. But we have tanks rolling across the field, so it looks like the yellow player is about to get sandwiched between Navy and ground.
And a second Epoch out for Winera, our pink player, heading towards Tank Tom's base, and it's definitely Winera's game to lose at this stage. Biggest eco, biggest army, and fully nuke covered.
He does actually have some pretty glaring weaknesses in his base. The areas that he's exploited himself, which is the ramps at the back, as well as the front of his base, are not completely open, but there is not much there. So if you're able to sneak a decent enough force through any of those areas, you definitely would be able to punch on in. It's something to remember if you're playing in a game and you feel like the game is lost. Sometimes just going for an unusual attack vector can be the difference between a win or a loss, even if you are coming from behind.
Probably the best thing that the yellow player could do right now would be build a couple ghosts out of that T2 lab and try and sneak them into Winera's base to disable that anti-nuke and then fire that nuke off. Still, I don't see getting away from an Epoch or 2.
When you self-detonate one of those ghosts, they create an EMP. They send out an EMP, which is enough to take down an anti-nuke for long enough to sneak a nuke in yourself. But with the Epoch coming around, I do not see much in the way of a respite for the yellow player. Nuclear bombers also starting to make their way across, though they're just targeting the units in the center, which is a pawn and a hound.
I do feel sorry for this yellow player. Tom going for the yellow player, probably because he got nuked by him. It's a bit of a revenge. He probably, at this stage, would think, oh, Pink's got the naval dominance. I'm just going to get revenge at this stage of the game for that nuclear bomb right into my base.
This really is a unfortunate spot. The pulsar getting damage onto those grouped up Sheldons, but with the advanced geo going down, that is the pulsar going down. Two hounds coming in to try and intercept, but that is a lot of Sheldons, and the hounds have to fight into a jammer field, which means that the Sheldons will get those shots off first and take a couple of them down. And while this is happening, the flagship is just hammering on in. If he can target those APHIS, he will cause quite the destruction, because those have been placed in the middle of the map.
Unfortunately, cannot see them, so a scout would be the best bet here. And
in fact, you could use those nuclear bombers as scouts.
Yes,
very expensive scouts.
DPS scouts.
And they can also. There we go. That's a.
Player taps out, and I believe we'll see the same out of Tank Tom very shortly.
Yeah,
those nuclear bombers coming in.
Yep, and getting absolutely destroyed from behind by that extra flagship. So the early eco advantage that Winera took by getting all of those C-mexes definitely gave him the metal to go for such a diverse strategy. So good on Winera. Managed to keep himself safe by building minimal units and only reacting when necessary, and just taking the game by storm. Quick look at the statistics. We have actually have a quick look at the graphs, because it's a little bit better for metal produced. If you look at the early game, Winera really did take that from the start and push it all the way to the end with those early in-water mexes. Pigs tried to do the same thing with air, but unfortunately it didn't scale quite as hard because of that huge amount of energy stalling. If we look at the energy graphs, you can actually see every player exceeding Pigs in energy up until the 16-minute mark.
Yeah, so nice play by all players, and a bit of an unfortunate disconnection in there. Pigs with that air transition at the start, well, not transition, starting air, a little bit unconventional, but definitely played off up until to that point where the Navy came through, and Winera's tactic of playing quite defensively but economically paid off and got him the win.
If you enjoyed that one, please leave us a like and subscribe. Jump on down into the comments if you've got any feedback. And if you want to play in any of our matches or submit any replays, jump in on our Discord, link in the description. We will catch you next time.
Thanks for watching.